Previously on the Cash Flow Contractor.
Business function chart, what is it? Everyone's probably seen an org chart here or there. Rather than having people, it has functions, not roles, not responsibilities, it has functions. What does your business do? In order to actually create that effectively, it actually starts with workflows. Work is flowing through your business if you're in business. We've gone through this workflow. We'll do more in this series. The next thing that we'll do in this series is mapping functions.
Expert advice, practical tips, real life stories. Have less stress, more time, and more money in your business. Welcome to the Cash Flow Contractor.
Martin, we always do this. We've been sitting just chatting for an hour about life and work and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We're finally going to record this episode.
Yeah.
So we had an episode, I think it went live a couple weeks ago from when we're recording this now, on workflows, how work flows through a business. We gave an example of your sprinkler company that you used to work with back in the day. And we mapped out the entire process from a new lead is received all the way to hand it off to production. So we did like the sales pipeline is what some people would call it, or really just the sales workflow is what I would call it. Right? You remember that?
Yeah, of course.
So I'm going to share my screen really quick, and then we will jump in. Give me just a second. All right. So last time we couldn't have the visual because we were running out of time, and we did all the work inside of Claude is what we shared our screen with the AI. You could have done this in a variety of other tools as well, but we really liked Claude. And I have the visual for you now that we've had some time to work on it. So here's what Claude came up with. We asked it to create an HTML flowchart. Previously, I think in the last episode I said mermaid. HTML works just as well. And so this is what it came up with. So here's our workflow. We receive a lead. We do a qualification call. Is it qualified? If it's not qualified, no, disqualified lead. If it is, then we schedule our design appointment. We meet the customer on site. We assess the yard, the plants, et cetera, and determine what sprinkler we're going to use, where it's going to be placed. Then we create detailed drawings. We create a material list. We create a final quote for the same day. And then we present the quote to the customer.
Let me point out that it grabbed all of this just by our conversation.
Just from our conversation and what we said, it created this, correct, right? So then the customer approves it. Yes. Then we do our deposit and we hand it off to the office for the quote, the drawings, the material list, and the deposit, and it moves to the scheduling phase for actual production or installation, or whatever you want to call it, right? Which would be a separate workflow. There would be a completely new workflow for our installation. If the customer does not approve, we address those concerns and revise, and we present the quote to the customer again. If they don't approve, the only other thing that I would like to see that it didn't put in here is lead disqualified or opportunity disqualified.
Well, what we actually did was take all those leads and put them in a notebook. We had hundreds and hundreds, and they would call back the next year and we'd have it. So we didn't throw anything away.
Okay, so then you would move them into
we archived it,
a nurturing sequence or something along those lines for the future.
Well, a lot of times we didn't even do nurturing, but we had it, and if they called or it came up, we had it. We didn't ever throw it away.
Yep. So it's also given us a legend, right? So blue moves us to the next workflow phase. Purple is a handoff. Orange is a key milestone. I would even say that maybe even scheduled design appointment would probably be a key milestone, in my opinion, or meeting the customer on site. You could even say that there's a handoff from maybe the office staff that qualifies the opportunity to the actual meeting the customer on site or scheduling the design appointment. You can hand it off from the office staff to the salesperson. So there's some tweaks that you could make to this that you can think in greater detail, but this is essentially what a workflow flow chart looks like. Now, what we were kind of discussing in our last podcast was the idea of a Kanban board, right? Where you have stages and you have a project as a card and it moves through each stage. Well, this is not a Kanban that we're looking at, right? And we could even have Claude develop a Kanban for this, but a Kanban view would something that you have inside your project management system. Even your sales CRM might have one, like HubSpot. But essentially, you would put these stages on here. Essentially, you would what I would do for my stages is I would have probably new lead as the first stage. The next stage would be design appointment scheduled. If it's any of the ones before this and it doesn't get to design appointment scheduled, it would just move to close lost or lost lead, whatever you want to call it. After design appointment scheduled, I would have drawings.
Meet the customer.
Or quote, I would probably have quote sent or something along those lines, or quote created. Then I would have really maybe a quote revision stage if anything needed to be revised. And then I would have closed one. If we collected the deposit, it would be closed one in the sales process. So those are the only stages I would have for my board view, and then each one can move through there. And we can track where we're at, okay? What we want to really talk about today is the functions, right? And this is where we can really start to understand what we do as a business. And so the way that I would describe this is that you have a function in your business. A function would be sales, okay? So you have a core function of sales. After that, you would have sub-functions of sales. So in sales, you have to do prospecting, and you have to do customer appointments, and you have to create quotes, and you have to create drawings, and you have to present quotes, and you have to collect deposits. Those are your sub-functions, right? And under those sub-functions, you have core activities. When you think about SOPs and checklists and all those kinds of things, you really want to start with checklists at the core activity level, that basic level, right? Of how to confirm that a deposit was collected, right? You check the billing software, you make sure that the money was, that not only was the invoice sent, but that it was also received, right? And you then confirm with the customer, thank you for your deposit, we're going to get you scheduled, right? So at the core activity level is where you create your checklists. And then ideally at the sub-function level is where you're creating your standard operating procedures using the checklists that you vetted, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When you think about a sub-function, at the sub-function level, you want to have identified who owns that sub-function, who owns collecting deposits, right? And maybe it could be multiple people because they have their own projects, so multiple salespeople do that, right? Who handles scheduling design appointments, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into, let me share a different screen here. We're going to jump into figuring out what our functions are, our sub-functions are, okay? So let's jump into Claude again. All right, we're in Claude. You can see that I also have this same view of our flow chart right here on the right side, but I'm going to go ahead and X out of this, and we're going to work on our functions. So I'm going to use Wispr Flow. I don't remember if I used this last time. I don't think I did, but Wispr Flow is a wonderful tool that dictates for you. We've probably all used dictation on our cell phone at some level, but this is a really good dictation tool. So I'll go ahead and describe it. I want to create a function chart similar to an org chart for our sales function. I want to outline all of the sub-functions based on the workflow that we created together and all of the things that we have detailed that our sales team does as work flows through the business on the sales workflow. Please come up with a list of all of these sub-functions as a part of the sales function inside of our sprinkler business. Okay, so I've just given that. It's dictated it. There it is right there.
Okay, does the sales function exist anywhere yet, or is it creating that?
So it doesn't exist in terms of our business. So
okay,
here,
but it's going out and getting a general idea. Okay.
Yep.
There it is.
So we have our sales function, right? Again, if you're thinking about your whole business, you're going to have potentially 9, if you're really robust, functions, right? You have a sales function, you have a installation or production function, you may have a service function, you're going to have a HR function for hiring and managing people, you're going to have maybe a marketing function, you'll have a admin function, maybe a couple different admin functions like billing, or maybe it's finance. IT could be a function potentially, right? So these are all different functions that you would have. We're just focusing on the sales function right now, and then the sub-functions that fall underneath that. So it's identified lead management, and it's even given us the core activities, right? So lead management would be a sub-function. And so you have lead intake and tracking, initial contact response, lead source documentation. Under lead management, we have our sub-function, and then the lead management sub-function, and then the core activities below that. Customer qualification is our sub-function. We have to do a phone screening and discovery, opportunity assessment, and then needs identification. I don't know exactly what it's saying with that, but those would be the core activities, right? So it's already done that for us. Under here, you can see that we've got 13 different sub-functions. Now, maybe the final payment collection is not part of your sales team, and so you may put that into your finance department, or maybe that's a part of your installation function, right? They do that at that end, and it's actually not in the sales, so you could remove that. You could even say that potentially the customer onboarding is not a part of the sales, right? So already there's some things that we can change. Mm-hmm. Make sense?
Yeah. Would you scroll back up real quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Scroll up. Let me look. Okay, the sales function we had described, and we referred to it in looking for sub-functions to the sales function.
The entire workflow falls underneath the sales function. And you can think about it not all functions are going to have a workflow, but a lot of them will. Like the installation function is going to have, or the production, new construction function, whatever you want to call it, will have a workflow. But for example, the finance function isn't always going to have a very clear workflow. Sure, for sending an invoice and collecting a payment, there would be a workflow. But if they're going to be reviewing quarterly financials and developing profit and loss, I guess technically you could throw it into a workflow, but it's really just a duty that they have. It's a sub-function,
Accounting software is a workflow.
Yeah, exactly.
But but back to sales. I just was curious, but it derived these of its own volition, matching them to the sales function.
Yes, but this is all derived from our previous conversation that we had on the previous episode. So if you have not listened to the previous episode and you're kind of lost on how we got to where we are, you can listen to that. But essentially, you and I mapped out the entire process that your old sprinkler company used to go through for sales. We outlined the workflow. Then that allowed us to come up with the visual. And now we're using that workflow to find out what our sub-functions are for sales, right?
And so far, we have not typed anything. We've just talked.
Correct. I technically typed or dictated that I wanted it to create these sub-functions.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So now I'm going to go ahead and type again. We'll go to the next step. Okay. Numbers 12 and 13 should not be a part of the sales sub-functions. Those belong in a different function. I like the functions that you came up with for numbers 1 through 11. I want to thoroughly identify the core activities that fall underneath each sub-function. Just so you are aware, the hierarchy is function, sub-function, core activity. Right now, currently, as an example, we are in the sales function. Number 11, job handoff, is a sub-function, and documentation package preparation is a core activity. please be thorough. You are not limited on how many core activities you can list under each sub-function. Okay, so I've given it that instruction. Let's see what it comes up with. This is going to create our function chart, which we are going to do in the next. So it has a question for me, subject number 4, site assessment. When the salesperson is on site, are there specific things they document or measure beyond just observing the yard? For example, do they measure square footage dimensions, document existing irrigation, take photos? I'm going to say yes, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, they absolutely do all of these things.
And more. We don't have to be.
We don't have to be too exhaustive.
Yeah, we're not really doing this for that company.
Right. So you can see that we're vibing with the AI, going back and forth, right? Just kind of working on this as if we were working with a intern who is all-knowing and very intelligent, but we have to give a lot of the context to that intern because they don't know our business, right? And we're working on this. So subfunction 1, lead management, core activities. It gave us even more than the 3 it did previously. Okay, so it's done a pretty good job. Let's just make sure that one of these is really good. Martin, do you have a subfunction that you want to focus on?
Well, I can't really read them, so I can't tell.
Okay, well, let me zoom in for you.
Well, just...
we have subfunction lead management, customer qualification, appointment scheduling, site assessment.
Site assessment.
Okay, site assessment. That's the longest one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read through these. You tell me if any don't belong or if it's missing any. Site assessment.
We'll have the opportunity to add something too, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Site assessment, we have walk entire property with customer, measure property dimensions and square footage.
Don't do that.
Measure specific, what's that?
Don't do that. We don't care about square footage.
I literally just asked you if they cared about square footage. Don't care about square footage.
I thought you meant the whole function.
That's okay. Measure specific zones or areas to be irrigated.
Yes.
Okay. Document existing irrigation system.
No.
If present.
Well, if present, yeah.
Okay. Note condition of existing equipment if present.
Sure.
Identify water source locations.
Absolutely.
Check water pressure at source.
Absolutely.
Locate existing hose, bibs, or connection points.
No. Connection points, not hose bibs.
Okay. Take photographs of property in key areas.
Didn't do it back then. It wasn't easy.
I would highly, highly recommend.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy to do.
Document sun and shade patterns throughout yard.
Yes.
Okay. Identify problem areas, dry spots, drainage issues, slopes.
Yes.
Note soil type and conditions.
Yes.
Assess property drainage and grading.
Yes.
Document existing landscape features, trees, shrubs, flower beds, hardscaping. Identify plant types and watering requirements. Note any obstacles, fences, structures, utilities, pavement. Yep. Discuss customer priorities and problem areas. Yes.
Yes.
Ask about future landscaping plans.
Yes.
Identify customer preferences for aesthetics. Note any HOA requirements or restrictions.
Yep.
Document access points for installation crew.
Yep.
So, excuse me.
That's pretty good.
You can see how
computer that's never done it.
Yeah, you can see how these core activities kind of feel like a checklist in a sense.
Yeah.
Right? But the reality is there is nuance to each and every one of these core activities. Right? There should be a checklist for each one. Right? So as you think about taking photographs of the property in key areas, there should be a checklist of what you need to take pictures of. Right?
Yeah. At what point, and then you could get, I'm asking an honest question, where do you stop? Because subfunction to a core activity or a sub-core activity, and then we could tell them what lens settings to use on the,
Yeah. Obviously, you have to focus on what moves the needle, and ultimately what you think about is the constraints and the issues, right? So you're probably not going to have a ton of constraints on this exact process. What I would say, you can, but what's usually a little bit easier is the issues. Man, we do not have photos of any of our leads on-site visits. And it's a huge problem because we have this back and forth going on between the office and, right? So we need to just get photos. I need to make a photo checklist because it's not enough for me to just say, hey, make sure you can take photos, guys. It needs to be specific and it needs to be clear that whenever I ask for people to take photos, they follow the photo checklist.
Yep. Where's the water meter?
Yeah, exactly. So you use this to the point that it's a problem, right? If you have zero problems with our salespeople walking the entire property with the customer, then you don't create the checklist right now, right? But as soon as you start realizing that our customers don't know our methodology and how we work, and we're getting too many questions in the office from our customers, we create the checklist for the customer walkthrough of the entire property, where we address all of these FAQs and our entire process, right? So that's how you would approach that. So let's move on to the function part aspect, okay? I know you said remove the square footage. I'm actually going to keep that. I think it's really valuable. I would love to know the average square footage of the homes that we service and the dollar amount of our project per square foot of property and some of those metrics. I think that would be really valuable to have. So, because then we can go and we can search for yards with similar square footage, et cetera, et cetera. So let's go ahead and move to this function chart. I'm going to use Wispr Flow again. This is really great. What I want to do now is to create a function chart. It should look very similar to a org chart where we are just focused on the sales function or the sales org. Each of the sub functions would be listed on the function chart, similar to how a manager role would be on a org chart. Then each of the core activities would fall underneath each sub-function on the chart. Please create this as an HTML artifact that I can visually view. An artifact is what Claude calls, calls artifacts what we previously looked at as the visual of the flow chart, or sorry, the workflow. So it's going to work on that. It's going to create this HTML artifact really quickly. And we will see we'll be able to visually see what this looks like. Now, it's doing it in HTML. There's probably some value in having that if you know about HTML, but ultimately it can also create the same exact thing inside of a PowerPoint presentation. And that's where I think the function chart is going to be a lot more valuable, because that's where you can open it frequently, you can look at it, and you can link to different documents, to different PowerPoints, whatever you want to do. So we'll wait for this to finish and then we'll take a look at it.
Wow. It's a lot of coding you're not doing.
Yeah.
How do you connect Wispr Flow?
Very, very easy. You sign up for Wisprflow. I will put my referral link because I get a free month anytime anybody signs up to use it. So I'll put that in the show notes for everybody. But Martin, I will send you mine and you can download it. And then if you're on a Mac, you use the function key, the FN in the bottom left on your keyboard.
Yeah.
You just hold it and you talk. That's it. And then
really? And then whatever software it's recording it where?
So what's great, I will actually just show you what Wispr Flow looks like. So let me open it up and share that screen while we're waiting on Claude. So this is Wispr Flow. What's cool, I can click into any text box. I can be in my Gmail and start typing an email and just dictate it, and it'll format it like an email. It'll take out all the ums, the ahs. It knows if I stumble over my words, it figures that out. I can use it in Slack. I can use it in iMessage. I can use it in my notes. I can use it in Claude. anywhere that I'm typing, I can use
It's
Wispr.
just intercepts between your voice and the microphone.
Yeah. And then it shows me I'm inside of here. I talk at 111 words per minute. I use it between 23 different apps. So that means I'm using it in Claude and Gmail and Chrome and whatever, right? I've dictated 21,000 words. So yeah, those are my stats. But what's great is I can go back and reference anything I've ever dictated.
Well,
And sometimes it's really short. Sometimes it's super long. You can also, you can create a dictionary of words that you use a lot. And it actually remembers those for you. So like if you dictated something, like I dictated HubSpot the other day and it spelled it with a lowercase s and I changed it to uppercase, well, now it knows that. So anytime I say HubSpot, it's going to get that right.
So if you're dictating an email, you just open up Google and use the function key and talk instead of type?
Exactly. Yeah.
Literally.
Great tool, wonderful tool for anybody that's on the computer typing. They do have it on iPhone. It works decently, but it shines on desktop or laptop, whatever. So that is Wispr Flow. I'll put that in the show notes for anybody who wants to get a free month or something like, what do you get? If I invite you, I get a free month if they sign up and they dictate 2,000 words. So I will put that in the show notes for everybody.
So what's it cost?
If you want to upgrade, let's see here, $12 a month. If you pay annually, $15 a month. If you pay monthly, I don't pay for it. So,
because you you got a free version, or because
the free version is 2,000 words per week, and there have been a couple of weeks that I've run into issues, like where I was dictating more, but I just stopped because I didn't want to pay $15 a month.
Yeah.
So, but if you're really like you, Morton, you're writing a book,
right?
I would say that, that's worth it, in my opinion.
So you can use Wispr. Well, we're using Wispr Flow right into Claude.
You can use it into any text box.
So Claude can clean up the junk in a different way than Wispr Flow.
Sure. Quick ad break to tell you a little bit about OpenPhone. If you're a contractor that has a single cell phone, you're probably inundated with text messages and phone calls, oftentimes that you can't be responsive to or that you can't answer at all. So what's the solution? You can buy another office line with Verizon or AT&T, and you can have an iPhone that is passed around from employee to employee, depending on who's on call. But what if there's a better way? What if there's a way that you can have all your phone calls recorded to go back and listen to later, transcribed with summaries so that you can get a quick glance at what happened during the phone call, and even connect it to your CRM where all your other customer information is? OpenPhone is the perfect solution because it does just that. You're able to add all the users you need to for whoever needs to have access to the lines for your company phone. And then you can also find all of the information you need at a glance with a centralized location for all phone calls and text messages with your customers. Whether it's for marketing, for sales, or for service, OpenPhone is the perfect solution for you and your team. If you're interested, we have an offer down the show notes from OpenPhone. Please click the link down the show notes, or you can see it here on your screen to be able to find more information about OpenPhone. Thanks for listening. Back to the episode. Okay, so we have our function chart. It hasn't completely done it. So what I want it to do, I'm going to give it we can still look through it, but I'm going to give it a prompt. I would like for these to be shown each of the sub functions to be shown horizontally rather than everything being vertical. And we can have sales at the top, and then it has a line that draws to each sub function, much like an org chart. And then we list everything out just as you have it vertically. Oh, I didn't have that typing. I want to see all of the sub functions horizontally underneath the sales function. Everything else is correct. You are showing the core activities vertically underneath each sales function. Please update it to be each sub function horizontally. Okay. So I'm giving that, it's going to update it, but we have over here on the right side what it looks like, right? We're looking at our sales function, complete customer acquisition and design process, lead management. We have each of these core activities underneath it. And now it's going to give us this. It doesn't look good in this window. So let me go ahead and I'll wait till it's done and we'll publish this. And then we'll wrap up there and we can talk about core activities.
How do you use?
Oh, no, and here it is.
Oh,
here it
there
is.
you
It
go.
has
There
it.
you go. That's what I was looking.
So now you can see all your sub-functions. We do lead management. We do customer qualification, appointment scheduling, site assessment, system design, material planning, estimating and pricing, contract management, deposit collection, job handoff. I don't know if you can tell, Martin, but it has colors for each one, and it's trying to go from like dark to light, I would say, or something along those lines. But then you have each one underneath, right? Let me actually publish this, and then I can send you this link. I can put this link in the show notes for people to look at if they want to take a look. But I'm also going to open it in a different window because then it will allow it to look a little bit cleaner. So let me switch over to that really fast.
There you go.
All right. So now it looks a lot cleaner, right?
You got to look at
Now I can see it. Yeah, more like an org chart. It's not perfect, but it's really helpful. If I was presenting this to our team, it's a visual that makes sense, right? And you can put this into you can put this into a presentation that you can then update. But how cool would it be for your business if you were thinking, hey, I'm trying to work on my business. Where do we have the most problems? Which sub-function is causing us the most issues right now? Is it our lead management? Is it how we qualify customers? Is it how we design systems? Is it material planning causing issues for us? Where are we having trouble?
So,
and then I can go into
below the headers are the core function or core activities.
Yes, these are all core activities. Yeah. Each and every one of these is a core activity.
And those really are at the level of I can actually do that. But you're also saying you might need further sub-core activities to tell which camera pictures to take.
No, I would say those are checklists. At that point, once you have a core activity, I don't think you need to like get it onto a function chart is what I would call it. In an ideal world, what you would have is, I would say that for each core activity, you would have a checklist. If you don't really require a checklist for each core activity, then maybe it's not a core activity, is what I would say, right?
Okay.
But we have all of this on here, and you can even consolidate the core activities if you want into, you could put 3 of them together, right? This isn't going to be perfect on our first try, right? But once you've done that, now you have clear understanding of, okay, well, who's going to own which core activity? Who's going to own which sub-function, right? If I have a problem with our material planning, who do I talk to? And you can have multiple, unlike an org chart, on a function chart, one person can own multiple sub-functions, right? They can own, and thus multiple core activities, right? You're not saying that this is your role. You're telling people, hey, this is the things you need to do. And it can help you to get more specific about what you need to focus on, what you need to work on, right? So what questions do you have, Martin? I know that we spent some time on this. What's coming up?
I'm going back to Kanban cards that would go on top of activities. I mean, literally, the way I've seen them before, it would be like we layered a Kanban card, which is a job, on that orange one that we've got there, which is system design, I guess. But this would be the background that the Kanban card goes on and moves through?
It's not, no. So the function chart and the Kanban board is completely different. Okay. What I'll do for our next episode, I will help you, I will create a Kanban board that we can review together, and we can show people of how you would actually combine the two together and use it. So we'll come up with a example for you.
Yeah. But this is a workflow process for sales.
Correct.
Boom. It's everything that you got to do.
Yep. So what we would do now, once you have mapped these functions, yes, you could go in and you could create your checklist, et cetera, but by having this together, you can really start to map your business, is what I call it, right? You can map roles. So I talked about maybe mapping people, but essentially what we do is we take, either a person's initials or a person's picture, and we put it on a sub-function or on a core activity. You do this, you do that, right? This person owns that. And obviously we're only looking at the sales function right now, but if you have all of your functions together, you're able to know exactly what everyone is actually owning. You can figure out capacity. Holy cow. John is running 13 different sub-functions. We probably need to get him more focused and dialed in. And we can hire someone else to take over 6 of those functions.
No, it's great.
Right? It helps you to understand what roles do what.
No, I'm just keenly interested in where the Kanban chart, what did you call it? I mean,
Kanban board.
Board.
Yeah.
Board.
Yeah. We'll do that in our
matches
next
up
one.
to this.
We'll
Yeah.
use this
No, I
exact
think
sales
that's-
function, and we'll put that onto maybe a couple different Kanban boards, but maybe just one. And then what we'll do, the other thing that I didn't mention is software, how you can map your software on this, right? Maybe you're using a specific software for lead management and a different software for site assessment, right?
In your experience of looking at all the different project management softwares that we look at, do any of them have internal, or is it common to find that you could map sales functions this way in those softwares?
No, I wouldn't say that you would map out roles for each of these things inside of a project management tool. You can create each of these as tasks and assign a specific person to each task. You can 100% do that. But in terms of like you viewing your business, I wouldn't do that inside of a project management tool. I'd use it in something that's a little bit more nimble and doesn't have like limitations, where you can just like write things and throw a picture up there or whatever. And that's why I think like Google Slides or PowerPoint would be a great tool for your function charts, because it's more malleable that way. But yes, you could theoretically put it inside of a project management tool, but
I was more asking, do the project management tools have the ability to do this, to create this?
Yeah, they do to some extent, but again,
it's not the place to do it.
It's not, in my opinion. You don't start there. Maybe you can get there, but that's not where you start. You would start with something like this, like starting with AI, just brainstorming, thinking through it, narrowing it down. Getting into a visual like this is helpful. Getting into like a PowerPoint is helpful because you can drag boxes and you can put pictures on people and type notes in and all that kind of stuff very easily. Then once you have it really defined and you're like, hey, this is exactly what we're doing. Yeah, sure. Put it into a project management system. I think that's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be cool to see the board come off of this.
Yeah. So what we'll do when we do our next episode on this, for those who are interested and want to see further, we will put this exact thing that we're doing into a PowerPoint presentation, and then we will map out fake roles. We'll show what that looks like, but also your tech stack, your software for the sales function and what would be required. Once we have that done, we will work on creating a checklist as well, and we will view the checklist inside of the Kanban board specific to what we've outlined. So that's kind of the next step. And yeah, I think that's a great way of understanding how you can actually work on your business, how you can understand where your problems are, your constraints are, and how to actually address it. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Any
And
other
I'm glad
questions,
I've
Martin?
got you because, software's where I wander off a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Martin. Good to see you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, take care. You made it to the end of the episode, but before you go, if you found yourself thinking about growing your construction business while listening today, I want to share something with you. It's called our 24 Things to Hiring and Training the Perfect Executive Assistant for Your Construction Business. And it's a free guide that we've created. It's not theory. It's what we actually use to help contractors hire the perfect executive assistant. And really, we help you find ways to delegate over 50% of your current workload and get back 20 hours of your time every single week. You didn't start your construction business to just be doing admin work, to be buried in paperwork and endless admin tasks. This is the guide that shows you exactly how to find and train someone who can actually take all that weight off of your shoulders. So this is a real actionable, great PDF that has templates and processes. It's really, really great. And I want you to check it out, even just to get your feedback and how we can make it even more valuable. But I know that you're gonna love it. The link is in the show notes. Please download it. We'd love to see how much of an impact it makes on you and your business. Thanks for listening to the full episode. Check out the guide. It's free. No reason to hesitate. No reason to wait. Download it now. And before you go, I just want to ask for your gracious subscription to our podcast. So if you have 2 seconds, it means the world to us. Just subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or if you'd like our weekly newsletter delivered to your inbox whenever we release an episode, please subscribe in the show notes. Every week, we're talking about real strategies on how you can grow and build a profitable construction business that runs without you, so you can have less stress, more time, and more money. Click subscribe wherever you listen to the show, and thank you again for checking out the Cashflow Contractor. See you on the next episode.